Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich. This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area.
Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, with updates from the local restaurants, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Poppy Tooker, host of Louisiana Eats on WWNO Radio. Hey, Miss Poppy, good to see you.
Hi, Peg.
Hey. Ian McNulty, food writer for the Times-Picayune, New Orleans Advocate. Hello, Mr. Ian. Hi.
Hi, good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And Alfred Richard, movie critic for WWL-TV. Hello, Mr. Alfred.
Hello there, Peggy. Hello.
Hey. And Alan Smason of TheaterCriticism.com and the Crescent City Jewish News. Poppy, a very popular Mid-City eatery, is back. Just about, huh?
Yeah, they are back, and I'm so tickled because if you've been missing your mofo like I have, they have reopened for takeout and dine-in. Chef de cuisine, Paul Schell, is over there cooking up yummy stuff along with Michael Galata, that newest James Beard nominee. And of course, they're serving those incredible spicy wings, pho. Everybody's favorites are on the menu, and they're open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. until 9 p.m. So whether you get it to go or you dine in, get your mofo now. And some big news about an event happening tomorrow. This is a national movement called Bakers Against Racism. It's happening across the United States. Here, Turkey and Wolf, they are doing a consolidated box. There's a ton of participating bakeries, included Levy Baking Company, Bellegarde, La Boulangerie, Campagnan, and Gracious Bakery. They have $4 cookies, including their Solidarity Sugar Cookies. So if you're shopping for something sweet for Dad, you can do good and satisfy Dad's sweet tooth too. Just look for participants under hashtag Bakers Against Racism on Instagram.
All right, Miss Poppy, thank you. Over to Ian. Finally, some of the bars are opening up, slowly though.
That's right, Peggy. It's another phase of reopening, and it's one that some people have been waiting for with bated breath and bells on. The bars are slowly starting to reopen. You know, restaurants have been open for a while under limitations, and some bars that serve food have been able to be open for a few weeks now with limitation. But this latest rule affects bars without food. These are your straight up watering holes, your neighborhood joints. And I know some people might say, well, big deal. I mean, we're in the middle of a crisis. What's the big deal of a bar opening? That's hardly an essential service. But, you know, for a lot of people I've talked to, it is essential for their souls to have some of their social places coming back again. And in New Orleans, with, the structure of our neighborhoods, the texture of our neighborhoods, very often there is a bar or a lounge in there that serves as that third space for a lot of people. So the key thing to remember, and I try to remind myself as I go and check out some of these places in their very opening phases, is that it is early. And if it feels different for you to follow some of the new rules that are in place for going to a bar, it also feels very different for the bars themselves. So the bartenders, the bar operators, to a one, everyone that I've spoken to is eager to get back. They're frankly desperate to begin making money again after 3 months of being forced to be closed. But they're also very concerned about doing it safely. They don't want a Katie bar the door situation where people are just rushing in as they may have been fantasizing about in all these months with the bars dry. So it's a very measured approach where they're taking 25% occupancy. You may be asked to sit at a table instead of stand at the bar. You may be asked to stand in a certain position at the bar. And in all cases, they're encouraging folks to go outside, where health officials have said the risk of coronavirus spread is far less. So the good news is you can toast your favorite places coming back, many of them, and you can wish welcome back to the bartenders who are finally back to work at some of these places too. Just take it slow and be careful.
And be generous with tips. Tipping is always appreciated, right? Thank you.
Goes without saying.
Yes, of course it does. Back to you in just a little bit. Alfred, I know even though we're in phase 2, there are many folks who really are a little concerned yet, at this point, to venture forward. So still, Netflix, PBS, of course, Amazon Prime, and so many more are very important. So you've gathered a bit of a list for us.
A bit of a list of what you can do if you are still staying at home and not going to the few theaters that have reopened even at 25 or even 50% capacity. First up, there is a series called True Detective. Now, this is a series that is available on HBO Max, but it's also available on Hulu, YouTube, and Amazon Prime. And one of the things I want to focus on is that first season. Now, this is that first season. It's about a Louisiana groups of Louisiana investigators following a murder that took place in 2016, but in 2012, but then they discover it has a lot of significance and similarities to a murder that took place in Louisiana way back in 1995. And the casting in this series is awesome. You have Matthew McConaughey. He may not be saying all right, all right, all right, but it's Matthew McConaughey in there. Colin Farrell, Mahershala Ali, who of course was brilliant in Moonlight, and he won the Best Actor award a couple of years ago. Woody Harrelson, Rachel McAbrams, and even Vince Vaughn as well. So True Detective available, and you can get the other episodes and the other seasons, but really a good start to get into that series. Also, Love Life, and I love Life as well, but Love Life Season 1 is available, and it's available also on HBO Max, which is becoming sort of a powerhouse in the streaming services. Anna Kendrick is the star of that film, that series, and she is a romantic comedy writer who has a different take on romance and comedy and how we all gather toward the people that we eventually surround ourselves with. Really good, and it breaks a lot of the conventions of romantic comedies, or it's called rom-coms. And a series I've been watching on AMC, not the AMC theaters, but AMC.com, what was at one time called American Movie Classics. It's called Quiz. It's a series about a scandal in which a young man named Charles and his wife named Diana, no, they are not the Royals, they involve themselves in a plan to try to break down and try to take away money from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the English version of that very popular series. Really good work there, and you start seeing the back and forth about will they get away with it, how they're going to do this, what is your final answer. It is Quiz, available on AMC.com and on demand.
All right, thank you so much, and back to you shortly as well. But over to Alan, and Jefferson Performing Arts has some news for us.
Correct. Well, the Jefferson Performing Arts Society, unlike many of the other private theater groups, depends on a significant portion of their operating budget from the state of Louisiana. And as we all know now, with the pandemic going on and oil and gas prices at their lowest point in years, the state budget is being scrubbed quite a bit. And sort of like in preparing for a potential loss of income, they are now launching what is essentially an online campaign to raise some money for what they hope will be a good year coming up. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So as a way of basically trying that, they've got an online campaign. And Dennis Assaf, of course, is going to be hosting a concert, an outdoor concert of patriotic nature, and basically going to move it instead of July the 4th when he wanted to have it. He's going to have it hopefully in the Labor Day weekend kind of area. We're not quite sure if it's going to be that Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, but it should be that time. It will be about Americana, and of course talk a little bit maybe about some of the groups that have made up this melting pot that we call America. So that's going on. Now, those of you who wanted to see JPAS do some sort of patriotic thing for the July 4th holiday. Never fear. July the 3rd and July the 4th, local broadcasters will be airing Red, White, and Boom. This was a 2001 concert that Dennis Assaf basically handled, and he's the conductor, and you're going to see that airing twice on Saturday, July the 4th, and once on Friday night. Meanwhile, JPAS announced their lineup for 2020 to 2021. They're going to start off small at the West Wego Theater that they have, the Teatro Wego, and they're going to have a lot of comedy zone, a lot of one-man shows, et cetera, that'll start off. The first big show will be, of course, for the holidays, and that'll be the classic, the Nutcracker. That'll be in December, as you'd well expect, at the Jefferson Performing Arts Center. And then, of course, in January, we get to see none other than Harry Warren and Al Dubin's Tap Classic, 42nd Street. At the end of February, it's the comedy classic Arsenic and Old Lace. That'll keep you on your toes, and make sure you don't drink any of that elderberry wine, by the way. Finally, in April, their big musical, An American in Paris. That's transferred from Broadway. It was on tour here nationally. A wonderful show of the Gershwins. And other JPS shows in West Wego will be Melissa Manchester and Rupert Holmes's musical Sweet Potato Queens and comedies Flanagan's Wake and The 39 Steps.
All right. Thank you, Alan. And back over to Poppy. If we're of a mind to be able to splurge a little bit, the place to go is Ralph's, huh?
Well, it's a little splurge, but not in context. It's time for surf and sparkle again at Ralph's on the Park. If you're a lobster lover, this is for you. It's a 3-course dinner for just $55 that includes a chilled lobster salad, a lobster roll, and then the entree, steak and lobster thermidor. And there are specially priced sparkling pairings that go with it. This is being offered at dinner through June the 27th. And dinner is being served over at Ralph's every Wednesday through Saturday, with brunch being back on weekends. And now this is for dine-in. The bar has opened up again. But I'll tell you what, if I'm going, I'd like a seat on the balcony. It's beautiful overlooking City Park, and that's something new to just dine in. And then, of course, their curbside family meals are continuing for pickup Wednesday through Saturday. And instead of the choice every night, now it's going to be the two favorites, either the steak dinner or the barbecued shrimp dinner. But what deliciousness to go, and a bargain too.
Sounds good. Thank you. And Ian, a delightful little place that's sort of back of town.
Backatown Coffee Parlour. It's on Basin Street, and in that area between Treme, the French Quarter, the CBD, a crossroads, really. What a great place for a coffee shop. This place debuted a couple years back, and what put it on my radar recently was a dish, the barbecue crawfish. You've had barbecue shrimp a lot of different ways. Barbecue crawfish was a new one on me, sort of a cross between barbecue shrimp and griots and grits, boldly spicy, just a little bit sweet on the back, hearty, delicious, and really stuck in my memory. It was a door opener for a bigger story about Backatown Coffee Parlour and what this place is all about. It was conceived a few years ago to be a community gathering place. This is a Black-owned business that was designed to bring people together at that crossroads between neighborhoods there. Kind of place where you would go, not just have a cup of coffee, but talk, maybe meet some people, convene, have a meeting, network, brainstorm. I don't need to tell anybody that these are exactly the kinds of things that many people in the community are looking for now, as such impassioned conversations are going on about change and equality, justice. Well, coffee shops are designed for that. Here's one homegrown from the community for that role. However, we're dealing with a pandemic, which has cut down on the ways that people can gather that way. So what's a coffee shop to do? Also in the shadow of the Hard Rock Hotel construction disaster. So, this place has faced a lot of hardships to keep its core mission going at a time when really it's needed more than ever. So to get to the other side of that, to bridge that, the founders, Jessica and Alonzo Knox, local couple, they have turned to food, and they're doing a great job with it. That barbecue crawfish, it kept me coming back time and time again. Sweet potato pies, crawfish pies, little palm-sized quiches with spinach and crawfish, some salads, some savory dishes. A delicious and surprisingly vegan donut. It's a place that's got a lot of character and a lot of stories built into a short menu. But really, the story here at Backatown Coffee Parlour is about a community space evolving and adapting to get through some hard times so it can be here for its community when they can come back to it.
And Ian, at least for right now, easy to park? Pretty easy to park
Very
on the street?
easy to park, yes.
Good.
You're
And
driving down Basin Street and parking right in front.
And it's right near St. Louis, you said. St. Louis Cemetery, too?
That's right. Yeah, just off Canal Street. It's near the St. Louis Cemetery number 1.
Okay.
So right there by right there.
Great, thank you. And back to Alfred with more of that list. I'm watching a lot of stuff lately, so I need more on that list.
You want more? We got it for you. First up, this is on Hulu, and this is one I know you'll probably really enjoy. It's called Shirley, and it's a biopic about Shirley Jackson. Shirley Jackson, of course, the author of the 1959 novel The Haunting of House Hill. This biopic stars Elizabeth Moss. Now, she really broke out, of course, back in the days of watching Mad Men and, of course, her awesome work with The Handmaid's Tale. She plays Shirley Jackson in this film, and she goes back and forth between her small demeanor to really showing the power behind Miss Jackson. Again, really good, available on Hulu. Now, this next one is a film that made its debut on Netflix, but of course, as we're dealing with social consciousness and dealing with the issues that are going on in our country and Black Lives Mattering, what this is a film called The Five Bloods, and it's directed by Spike Lee. So I guess you could say it's another Spike Lee joint. This one stars Delroy Lindo, Clark Peters, Melanie Theron, and Chadwick Boseman. We know, of course, from Black Panther. It's about Vietnam vets, African-American Vietnam vets, going back to Vietnam to find out information about their former leader, who was played by Chadwick Boseman. Really great performance by Delroy Lindo, and Spike Lee's direction is giving him I guess you could say an inside track toward possibly a Best Picture, even though we now know that the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has announced that the Oscars will be pushed back into April of next year, of 2021. But if you have the opportunity, get a chance to look at The Five Bloods, available on Netflix. And another film with great significance called Miss Juneteenth. It's available on video on demand. Turquoise Jones, the young lady, she's a single mom who has a very rebellious teenager, but Turquoise was at one time a Miss Juneteenth pageant winner. So she's now trying to groom her daughter toward becoming a pageant winner or a pageant contestant, but the daughter has other ideas as well. Nicole Bauhai plays Turquoise, and Kendrick Sampson's also in this film, and Alexis Chikezi, she plays Kai, the daughter. Really, really good work, and showing the idea of how this intergenerational battle back and forth about what mother wants the daughter to be and what the daughter wants in her life. Really good. And the title, very fitting, Miss Juneteenth.
Very fitting. All right. Thank you so very much. And now it's time to go back to Alan. And Alan, it's so exciting because Infringe Fest has a new part of it. It's expanding, isn't it?
Well, it is, but because of the pandemic and what's going on, there's an old adage that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And essentially, the Black Lives Matter protests have been registering within the theater community. And Infringe is one of those companies that's been having active discussions within their boards and, of course, within their staffs to determine how they can best fight racism and, of course, prejudice. John Broder, who is the executive director of Infringe, sort of set up a new concept. What he's doing is he's having a Black, Indigenous, Persons of Color mini virtual festival. That's a BIPOC, as it's called. And Infringe will be accepting applications from people who meet those descriptions and basically choosing 3 shows that are submitted to have them done professionally in 3-camera style by Moro Video Productions. This will allow them to essentially have their ideas and concepts made into professional movies. Then how do we get involved? Well, here's what happens. In November, when the Infringe is on, we get to rent these And 70% of the monies that we are renting these particular shows for goes to the artists involved. 30% goes to the people doing the websites and the upkeep, et cetera, for administrative fees, if you will. And then at the end of the festival run, the creators get to keep these professional creations as their very own. That's fantastic and gives them a leg up in perhaps going and doing more with their careers. This is, by the way, Peggy, Gay Pride Month. And next Thursday, Broadway HD is doing something very exciting. They're going to have a sing-along for the fans of Falsettos. Now, those of you who remember Falsettos was the March of the Falsettos and In Trousers and basically 3 plays by William Finn. And they're going to have some of the stars from Falsettos, and we're going to all sing along on Broadway. You'll be able to see that for yourself coming up next week. And, of course, this weekend coming up, the shows must go on. That's the Andrew Lloyd Webber channel. We have Peter Pan. It was rescheduled from a couple of weeks ago with Allison Williams in the title role of Peter Pan, and of course Christopher Walken as Captain Hook. That's going to be playing Friday through Saturday. And don't forget, this week on Plays in the House on Saturday, you have 2 Tony Award winners. That's of course James Monroe Iglehart, which we know probably best from his role in Aladdin and also now in Hamilton, and Tonya Pinkins, who's going to be in George Bernard Shaw's Mrs. Warren's Profession. This was a play that was banned in Britain for many, many years.
All right. Thank you very much. Time for our picks of the week. Poppy.
Well, you can't beat $1 oysters. That's what they're serving 7 days a week at the Bourbon House from 3 until 7 p.m. $1 oysters.
Okay. Ian.
Summer's heating up, but one of my favorite spots for icy cold beer is back. Liuzza's Restaurant and Bar.
Yay.
Of course, the one on Bienville Street, not to be confused with the also excellent and reopened Liuzza's by the track. But Liuzza's on Bienville Street. It's coming back with its French enchilada, its Creole Italian dishes, and those icy schooners of beer.
I'm so glad. Alfred.
If you take all the great comedic legends out of the recent past, add in the work of Spencer Tracy and directed by Stanley Kramer, you have what's going to be shown at the Chalmette Movies. It's a mad, 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 mad world, and it's a pretty good comedy to take your mind off of a lot of things.
Absolutely. Alan.
And we mentioned John Broder. His play Brick will be playing in NOLA Theater Talks show coming up on Monday. And we want to remind you that's going to star Bob Eads Jr. and Harold Gervais and Xavier Juarez. And it'll be utilizing the introduction by John Broder with some of the stage directions. That's going to be on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group, the theatercriticism.com Facebook page. Don't forget, this is adult material, not for the kiddies. I'll see you in the theater, Peggy.
All right, thank you. Now it's time for my picks. New Orleans photographer Justin Winston is creating what he calls a non-mask. It's since, of course, a covering is required in most public places these days. He actually takes fakes a photo of your face, or you can send him one, and he'll make the mask based on it. So you can contact him through winstonsublimation@gmail.com. But it's very, very clever. The Preservation Hall Foundation presents a live stream concert Saturday night featuring pre-taped segments by Elvis Costello, Irma Thomas, John Batiste, Dave Matthews, P.J. Morton, and many more. You'll be able to send a donation to support the over 60 musicians that work for the hall who have been out of work, of course, since March. Go to prezhallfoundation.org for info, and you can watch it there, or you can go to their website, or on Facebook or YouTube. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, my pals. Thank you for watching.
Bye, Peg.
Goodbye.
Bye, Peggy.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day.
And uncles.
Yes.
This program is sponsored in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support the arts and culture in the greater New Orleans area. Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich. To commemorate the founding of New Orleans in 1718, WYES presents this tricentennial moment in celebration of our city's past and present.
A humble beginning, unshakable faith. So goes the first chapter of the story of the Sisters of the Holy Family, founded in 1842 when the now venerable Henriette DeLille, a free woman of color, along with co-founders Juliette Gaudin and Josephine Charles, followed a call to teach slaves, care for the elderly, and minister to the poor and the sick, including those affected by the city's yellow fever epidemics. All of this 20 years before the Civil War, an era when it wasn't legal for an order of African American nuns to even exist. Not long after the death of Henriette DeLille in 1862, the sisters, an estimated 12 in number, founded St. Mary's Academy, the city's first Catholic high school for African American girls. Their good works continued, with an orphanage for boys, another for young girls, and one of the first nursing homes in the United States. By the turn of the century, the congregation was thriving, and their schools expanded beyond the city and the state, and ultimately outside the country, with a school and convent founded in Belize. In 1984, the congregation welcomed an extraordinary guest. Mother Teresa spent a night at their Gentilly Mother House during her visit to New Orleans. In 2005, Hurricane Katrina devastated many ministries of the order. Buildings and schools left in ruins. What's more, several patients at the Order's Lafitte nursing home did not survive. Heartbroken but determined, the sisters carried on, rebuilt, and again said yes to their call.
It's a lifetime commitment, and you can't ever really prepare for what's going to happen during a lifetime. You can never study for it. So every day, it's a renewal of your commitment to God.
Today, even as their numbers decline and their population ages, the same steadfast faith, can-do attitude, and devotion to duty, the legacy of their founders, lives on.
WYES's New Orleans Tricentennial Moments are brought to you by the Miro Foundation and presented in association with the Historic New Orleans Collection.